I mean, how did you get into exorcisms?
After 9/11, I moved up to Boston, and I wound up staying with a priest for about 9 months, and he did deliverance ministry. In fact, the very first weekend I arrived, and I didn't know him that well, he has this woman in his chapel in the rectory who's slithering across the floor like a snake and foaming at the mouth, and her eyes are rolled back in her. And he's doing all these prayers, and then he looks at his watch and he says, okay, I'm going to go celebrate Mass. I'll be back in an hour. Just stay with her. And I'm like, what? This is my first introduction to this life. He leaves. She looks up at me, and she's got this weird look in her eyes, and she's got the foam coming out of her mouth. And I'm like, oh, hell no. And I get out of there, and I lock her inside, and I sat outside and waited for him to come back. When he comes back, and he's like, what are you doing? What happened to the lady? I go, no, she's in there. But I'm not staying in there with her. I mean, are you crazy? You left me alone with her. And he's like, oh, okay. I sometimes forget people who haven't been around this. It's a little jarring. I'm like, a little jarring. Look at her. She looks like a snake. God. So that was my introduction initially. And then for 9 months, he would do this with people, and I got more comfortable in being in the room with him. So he sends me to Rome, and I get trained, and then I come back and begin as the exorcist.
What does that training consist of? How does it start? I mean, is there an introduction? Welcome to Exercisom school?
Yeah, it was for like 2 weeks, 6 days a week, 7 in the morning to 7 at night. There's probably about 6 or 7 different fields, biblical, practicums, the devil in Hollywood, the devil in media, the devil, Harry Potter had its own class.
Harry Potter?
Oh, yeah. You get finished up, they pair you with a mentor who's been doing this a while, and my mentor was in Indianapolis, and so I met with him on a kind of regular basis, and he took me through some of his cases, and I watched him do actual exorcisms, and then, eventually you get your first case that you do it. Yeah, we actually have case studies of actual exorcisms that have been performed, what happened, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. That class was the best class. Don't do this.
What do?
So if the victim vomits up anything, including it could be small frogs, it could be nails, do not touch them. They're cursed objects until you liberate the objects from the demons and the curses, and then you can clean them up.
Do they talk about how it happens?
How does one get possessed?
Yes.
Oh yeah, of course. 100%. And the two biggest ways are dabbling in the occult.
What does that mean?
Playing with demonic things, Ouija boards, going to a psychic, tarot cards, or actual occult worship of the devil. Those are pretty much immediate open doors that you're going to have demons come right in.
Psychics are demonic.
Yeah, they're not channeling your dead relatives. So right now, we have at least 3 guardian angels in the room. There's also probably demons in this room. And they're listening, and they hear every bit of what we're saying. When somebody says, well, the psychic told me my mother shared this with me when I was 10, and nobody ever knew that but us. So it has to be my mom, except for the demons in the room who also heard it. And now they're impersonating your mother. If your mother's in heaven, she's having a good day. She doesn't want to come back and visit you. As much as mothers love their children. And if she's in hell, there's no getting out. It's not your mother.
Wow.
They can put up a good show, and it's very, they can also place thoughts in our minds, and they can manipulate our emotions. And when you have that trifecta, the person is 100% believes it's their mother.
So if you're a psychic and I'm getting a reading from you, how does the transmission happen?
They're in touch with a demon they may even think it really is a relative, but I think most of them know that there's a power they're tapping into that is dark, and they're not going to share that with you. In fact, some of them will put Christian statues in the room, Sacred Heart is over here, Our Lady of Fatima is over here, just to lower the anxiety level of the person coming in. Because a lot of people have heard it's really not a good thing. Mm-hmm. But they get desperate. When people are desperate or in fear, they do things they wouldn't normally do. So after the Civil War, these charlatans came up with these talking boards that they were going around and visiting all the widows, saying, I can contact your husband, the soldier, if you can pay me this amount, we can do it with this talking board. And they made a lot of money off of these poor widows. And then that eventually became what was being known as the Ouija board, which was bought by Hasbro Toy Company, and they're based in Salem, Massachusetts, the capital of witchcraft. And they have consultants who went into the development of these boards that became Ouija boards, and that they are the first to say that they asked the board what its name is, and it said Ouija, which means nothing. And the first year they went to market, the #1 board game was Monopoly, and that year Ouija boards outsold Monopoly by 1 million boards. So it was embraced by the culture, fast. Mm-hmm. And it's opening a portal right into hell. The only time I've been physically was once. Again, it was another woman who was manifesting a snake on the floor, crawling like a serpent. I have a guy with me who's supposed to be my bodyguard. And at one point, as I'm doing my prayers and she's slithering across the floor, her head flies back like that and she's staring at me and she's sort of got like the snake eyes, which are like, I think, vertical instead of like ours are this way, and there's slits and they're yellow. And I just kind of looked at her and I immediately thought, this isn't good. Something is happening. And she flew off the floor without using her hands and her feet, and was immediately in front of me and grabbed my stole. So I have a stole on, and she starts me. And she's not a big girl. She's like maybe 120 pounds, but she has a grip that I can't break. So I start looking over to him and I'm like, come on. And he looks at me. He's like, no. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This is your one job. And he's like, I'm not coming in. So I just then focused and I said, in the name of Jesus, stop. And she fell back on the floor and went back to her slithering. And I backed up a few feet and continued. But that's the one and only time I've been physically.
How much fear do you feel when you're doing these?
None, because my attitude is if God is giving me this ministry to help his people, he's going to show up. I'm friends with a priest who had 2 300-pound men in the room with him. And again, it was a woman. And she reached over and with one hand lifted one of the guys between his legs and threw him 10 yards with one hand, 300 pounds. So it's not the person's strength. It's clearly supernatural.
When you get called to perform an exorcism, I mean, how does it happen?
When I first started, I kind of had such a pity for these people, such a sorrow for what they're going through, that I would drop everything and that became, come today, we'll help you. Now, having said that, we never do exorcisms at night in the middle of the woods at somebody's home, which is like what the movies would have you think.